The first step is to correct enough data for the Ruby area. As the second step, move the scanner like a plane. Hello everyone, this is Dr. Zhang, the host of Please Solve Me. Today will be the third webinar, and I would like to introduce a new guest. This pretty woman next to me is a staff member who has been working with me for 8 years. She is a very popular lecturer in Korea, actually teaching scanning technique to other dental staff. She will be collaborating with me on this lecture on how to use scanners. Chen, would you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Cheon-mi or Chen in English, and I'm a dental hygienist. I've been teaching for Medit for 3 years now, and it's an honor to be here.
Thank you for joining us, Chen. Now let's start the first webinar of 2024. In this year, we will continue to bring you Please Solve Me webinar every month. I will choose 3 questions to answer for each webinar, and what you see here is an example. First, a more recently uploaded post will cover troubleshooting questions. We will ask Medit for advice on how to best resolve the problem, and we will summarize and explain the answer. Additionally, we will share what method has worked for us based on our experience. We have noticed that questions related to scanning technique come up almost every week. So, we will provide you with tips on scanning technique for various difficult cases. We also frequently see questions about what kind of data workflow is used to treat complex implant cases. We would like to discuss treatment options with you based on similar cases we have seen at our clinic.
Question number 1. What can I do when processing stops and fails to complete the scan data?
Let's take a look at a recently uploaded question about troubleshooting. The question asks what to do when a file transfer process stops and fails to complete. It's indeed a frustrating situation. We are worried about losing data if we turn off the computer, but leaving it as is makes it impossible to scan other patients. We've encountered similar situations in our clinic, haven't we?
Yes, although computers are pretty stable now, this can still happen.
It can be extremely frustrating if we complete a patient scan and the data fails to save. We often find ourselves praying for the successful completion of the save process while looking at the screen with the patient. If praying doesn't work, what would be a better way to handle this situation? In fact, it's my responsibility to fix this problem, so I need to be prepared for this kind of situation. When I contact the Medit Help Center, I receive this official answer that I will translate into English. First, check Windows Update, and next, check for graphic card update. However, this advice doesn't actually solve the problem. In fact, we can't even exit out of the program to check for update because we can't close the test window until processing is complete. So what should we do? From my experience, I found that there are 3 main causes for these situations, and 3 ways to tackle them summarized at my clinic below. 1. Insufficient hardware capacity. To solve this, make sure you have enough space. 2. Unstable internet connection. Check Wi-Fi signal strength. Make sure you have a strong signal strength. 3. Cloud stagnation. In this case, there is something interrupting getting the file into cloud. This is a typical case, so I ask my staff to call me. By summarizing and posting their measures next to the computer, I can register the number of times I'm called, and anyone can deal with factors 1 and 2. Let's take a closer look at each factors. The first case is insufficient hardware capacity. In the case of cloud storage, it's usually not a problem because many users simply upgrade their capacity. Although there is a lot of cloud storage space, you need to regularly monitor if your hard drive has sufficient space. If your hard drive is cluttered, your computer will slow down and sometimes you won't be able to save in or scan data. Keep in mind the data is first saved on your local hard drive before it's uploaded on the cloud. Many users might not be aware of this, but it's very important to know. So, it's a good habit to check the remaining hard disk capacity every Monday morning before your first patient comes in. Also, it's best not to install other programs on the computer used for scanning if possible. I maintain a lean state with the unnecessary clutter by not installing programs like TeamViewer or Zoom on the scanning computer. The second problem is an unstable internet connection. In the case of a wired LAN connection, such incidents are relatively rare. However, wired LAN makes it much more difficult to move cards around. But when going wireless, the signal strength can suddenly drop depending on the location of the scanner, influenced by everything from distance to the presence of walls. In such cases, if we connect a wired LAN cable, the problem can be solved immediately, just like performing an emergency blood transfusion. That's why we have a wired LAN on standby that can be quickly plugged in for emergencies. It's like a refueling car. Another tip is to install a Wi-Fi booster on the ceiling. You can usually purchase one for around $50. If you install it in the center of your clinic ceiling, the signal will be retransmitted from the ceiling and minimize signal interference. It's a simple way to prevent data transfer delay, so I highly recommend it. The third situation is more difficult to fix than the first two cases. It happens when the data doesn't move from the computer to the cloud, like congested load. Lastly, as mentioned earlier, scan data is first saved on the computer and then transferred to the cloud. However, when problem number 1 and 2 are combined, data can get lost along the way. In this situation, if you turn off the computer, you may lose your data. So, we can combine the solution from both problems 1 and 2. First, try deleting unnecessary folders to free up storage space. Then, ensure a stable internet connection. For example, if you are using a laptop, delete unnecessary files from your computer's download folder and connect a LAN cable to switch from a wireless to a wired environment. From the computer's perspective, this is like widening the data highway and resolving traffic congestion. However, if this combination doesn't work, you need to contact Medit support for this emergency. To prevent this processing problem, I customized a mobile cart for my clinic. The cart was made with a cheap computer desk, and there is only a monitor on this cart connected to a desk computer on the side instead of a laptop. Of course, wireless transmission can be used with wireless video transmission device, but I use a long RGB cable to minimize lag. Grab cables are much more durable than LAN cable and have a lower chance of disconnecting. Another advantage is that you can work with a large monitor. This cart was set up to be used from two adjacent dental chairs, minimize the distance you need to move. Also, I use the i700 wireless so I can scan naturally without any inconvenience caused by tangled wires. It took a while to find this kind of setup, but it's made things much easier. So, when purchasing your scanner, be sure to consult with the seller about the best location to place it. This way, you can create a comfortable scanning environment with minimal data transfer problem. Up until now, we've only been talking about the first question.
Question number 2. It is about scan technique. How can I scan implant edentulus case?
The next question is about scan technique. Recently, someone asked how to easily scan full residential cases. A similar question was also posted last year, and I think it's a proof that many users are wondering the best way to do it. So today we will cover implant scanning of residential cases in detail. Honestly, a residential case is difficult, whether it's done with conventional or digital method. Then why is it so difficult? Number 1. As you would already know, it is difficult to perform a scan without stopping in an eventual case. Since there is no specific reference point, it's hard for the scanner to recognize the location by itself. So, we need to add some reference point. Number 2. Basically, the main purpose of implant scanning is to record the positional relationship between the internal structures. However, for the usual case, the scanning area is too extensive, which may cause deformation. Number 3. It's difficult to obtain the bite registration with accurate vertical dimension, since the occlusion of patient is unstable. When you encounter an initial case for the first time, you may be confused about what to do. That's because these problems do not occur when we scan a partially identical case. In the past, a scanner would sometimes go off track and stop while scanning identical cases, but the software has improved so much, now the scanner can recognize location with high precision. Here's a guideline for dental scanning. The Medit Academy posted a helpful video a few years ago. The first step is to collect enough data for the Ruby area that has the most distinct characteristic. As the second step, move the scanner like a plane flying in multiple directions from the base camp and then returning. There's some difference between number 2 and 3. In case of number 2, we scan immobile keratinous mucosa, and in case of number 3, we scan the mucosa area while pulling the cheek with the light pulse. Finally, as shown in number 4, scan the parietal area of U-shaped width to prevent distortion. Chen is really good at doing this. Chen, could you give us your tips for scanning dental cases?
Okay, here are the 3 tips I can give you. First, I add some reference points at the edentulous area. If you put the prothesis on the long span area, scanning will go more smoothly. Second, perform scanning at once without stopping to prevent deformation. To do that, I always ask another step for an assistant and perform scanning very stably environment. Lastly, in order to complete the scan at once, I prefer to turn off the autosys function and try to move the scanner slowly.
Thank you for the great tips. But there's a bigger problem other than the art scan, right?
Yes, I am scanning, but actually vital registration is difficult for me. Since I don't know which occurrence relation is correct. One day, there was a situation. Dr. Zhang asked me to scan to make temporary key on the day of surgery. Scanning. I managed to do it, but my acquisition was impossible because there were no vertical stuff. What on earth did you want to do me too?
Oh, I'm sorry. At the time, I also didn't have enough experience, so I thought you could handle it somehow. I apologize. I totally get why you were so upset. In this patient case, I should have scanned it in advance while the patient is wearing a denture, but I missed it. So, I used the traditional method of getting 30 bites on both sides while the patient is biting guards at the anterior ridge. I will explain later with pictures from a related article. Getting back to the topic, at the time I asked Chen for a scan after surgery. It was a tough situation, but I successfully placed 6 implants and completed the surgery by connecting fixed scanbodies and filling abutment. I had to get scan data to make a temporary prosthesis, but scanning was not easy because there was bleeding. Thankfully, Chen came up with a brilliant idea and completed the difficult mission. The bleeding area was covered with impression material, and the decut areas of scan bodies were accurately scanned. Now the maxillary scan was done almost perfectly. The next problem was how to take vital situation. There were no vertical stops, so I tried to obtain arbitrary bite data. Here is an article. The article explained how making a body index can help record the vertical dimension of the individual cases, and how the analog data can be converted into digital scan data. It requires accurate trimming of the body by index, and a portion of the connecting mucosa is exposed to record the jaw relationship. I got an idea from this article and implemented the body bite in my practice to obtain arbitrary bite registration. Since then, I often use the bite index on the day of surgery for these cases. Although the data obtained is not 100% accurate, as it depends on how the patient bites down. Despite the possibility of error, it's more convenient and it gives me enough information to design a temporal prosthesis. As you can see in the picture, I first delivered the temporal prosthesis for posterior teeth made based on arbitrary bite registration. After confirming the vertical dimension with temporal prosthesis, I tried to obtain an accurate bite registration again. After the process, I could make permanent restoration of the anterior area and then move on to making the final prosthesis. The picture shows that I make full use of temporal prosthesis and perform the bite registration process at least twice to find the optimal vertical dimensions. I like to use this kind of step-by-step process to make the final prosthesis for the patient. This process may seem complicated, but this is what gave me an optimal result with high accuracy, which is crucial because there is a long span between the abutment, especially in prosthetic for injured patients. This is what I've been doing since I was using computer methods, but digital technology has simplified the process. When treating digital cases, technique I introduced today will definitely be helpful. Now I will briefly show you the scanning strategy for membrane cases. Getting accurate data without deformation is even harder for mandibular cases than maxillary cases. When I scan these cases, I let the scanner scan on the necessary areas. Let's look at the video. Okay, the scanning movement starts from the retrograde head area, which has a distinct shape. With the assistant helping with extraction, I roll the scanner right over the wrist like a snake crawling. Don't forget that you are just showing the scanner, only the part you want to get data from. If you move the scanner with control movement, scanning either cases is not so difficult. All you have to do is to make slow and overlapping movement. Up until now, we have been talking about initial cases. As you can see in the picture, I first delivered the temporal prosthesis for the posterior teeth made based on arbitrary bite registration. After confirming the vertical dimension with the temporal prosthesis, I tried to obtain an accurate bite registration again. After this process, I could make full restoration of the anterior area and then move on to making the final prosthesis. The picture shows that I make full use of temporal prosthesis and perform the bite registration process at least twice to find the optimal vertical dimension. I like to use this kind of step-by-step process to make the final prosthesis for identification. The process may seem complicated, but this is what gave me an optimal result with high accuracy, which is crucial because there is a long span between the abutment, especially in prosthetic for identification. This is what I've been doing since I was using the computer method, but digital technology has simplified the process. When treating individual cases, technique I introduced today will definitely be helpful. Now I will briefly show you the scanning strategy for mandibular cases. Getting accurate data without deformation is even harder for mandibular cases than facial cases. When I scan nasal cases, I read the scanner. Scan only the necessary areas. Let's look at a video. The scanning movement stems from the reticular pad area, which has a distinct shape, with an assistant helping me with retraction. I roll the scanner right over the ridge like a snake crawling. Don't forget that you are just showing the scanner, only the part you want to get data from. If you move the scanner with controlled movement, scanning in cases is not so difficult. All you have to do is to make slow and overlapping movement. So you can do it. Don't have to worry about this. Up until now, we have been talking about identity cases.
Question number 3. How can I scan an implant without using scanbody?
Now going on question number 3. This question was posted by a user October of 2023. This user wanted to know how to scan an implant without a scan body. I wanted to answer this question back then, but I didn't have this webinar at the time. I'm glad I can share my thoughts on this question today. The question was not in English, but it's a very good and important question. Simply put, this question is concerned with an abutment level scan. I have given lectures on this topic in Korea, so I will go into some detail. So, today I will briefly introduce the concept of abutment level scan and show you how I apply this method to my practice. It's easy to think that the scan bodies are required for implant scanning according to conventional notion. When I got a scanner for the first time, I also thought scan bodies are mandatory for implant scanning. So I ordered a large number of scan bodies for various types of implant. What a waste of money it turned out to be. When I think about it now, scan bodies are only a component used when pixel level scanning is required. For your scanner, I mainly use stock abutment to make prothesis. If you are already comfortable with using stock abutment, you can use stock abutment as scanning component. So, I would like to advise users who are new to scanner not to purchase many scan bodies at the beginning. In my clinic, around 80% of implant scans are performed without using scan bodies. When you are using stock abutment scanning, you don't need to connect and disconnect components unlike scan bodies. Doing this will save you time and make your digital workflow more efficient. To explain the concept of abutment level scan, I will introduce a related article. I have briefly summarized the mechanism of abutment level scan with some keywords. First, scan frequently use stock abutment sizes and then save it to the library. Then by later loading and matching an abutment library of the same size, the entire shape can be restored even if only a part of it was scanned. This process is called merging, and I will explain it again with the case. These are pictures from an article to explain the process. When I use the stock abutment, I would consider making the prosthesis with substantial margin for ideal image profile. To do that, I have to get the margin when you take the impression. This was hard to do when I used the conventional method, but it has become much easier after I applied the digital method in my practice. I recommend this method because you can find the margin even when it is located below the suboptimal margin, as you can merge the scan data with the previous data of stock abutment in the library. This way, you can make the crown with a clear margin that is very accurate, so there is no need for adjustment. This is a method that I use frequently when making a single implant crown. I really like it because it's so simple. Now I will tell you why I think abutment level scans are more efficient. When I was new to digital scanning, I thought the digital method takes a longer time. You might feel the same way. If you use a scan body, you have to connect and take an X-ray to confirm if the connection is correct. The preparation for using scanbodies is almost the same as prepping for the conventional method. So, if you are not skilled yet, the digital method may take a longer time than the conventional method. But if you've already taken the pre-scan on the day of surgery, you just need to record the abutment, and you can finish the abutment level scan in just 1 minute. This is how I save time and patients are satisfied because they have never experienced anything this fast. I strongly recommend that you use the abutment level scan method, especially for single implant cases. The secret of process innovation is very simple. So first, just take the pre-scan on the day of surgery and you can utilize the waiting time after anesthesia. On the day of the final scan, you can solely focus on the target and just need to record the anti-rotating surface of the stab abutment. This quick and easy process will send patient home in about a minute, which will wow the patient. Personally, I prefer using tissue level type implant in posterior single implant cases. This is because there is a very low chance of screw loosening and the abutment level selection process is very simple. Simply connect the star abutment that matches the platform size, scan it, and cement the prosthesis made in a shape favorable to oral hygiene. There is almost no need for adjustment. Once it is placed in the appropriate location, all you need to do is an abutment level scan. I treat most single process tooth cases in this way. For bone level type implant, the abutment level selection process is a little more complicated. The depth of implant placement and the emergence profile of the prosthesis must be considered together. To choose an appropriate size within the patient mouth, I use a prosthetic planning kit to minimize trial and error in the process. Because there is a lot of packing at the collection area, it does not fall off easily. You can find the appropriate size of the stock abutment by trying out two sizes. After trying out two sizes, only when it is determined that it is difficult to make an appropriate prosthesis with the stock abutment. In that case, I use a scanbody to create a custom abutment. In this case, two implants were each made into a single prosthesis using stock abutment. Could a better appearance have been achieved if a custom abutment had been used? I don't think so, especially if there is any miscommunication between the dentist and technician. I think that when creating a custom abutment, the dental technician had to make quite a few important decision making, which is not something I'm always comfortable with because it adds uncertainty when I'm hands off. However, using a style abutment allows dentists to invest more time choosing the abutment, and then the dental technician can begin work after the initial setup. In this way, a prosthesis will better reflect the dentist's concept. This is the most important reason why I prefer stock abutment over custom abutment. So, during surgery, I like to try on a stock abutment while connecting right away to see whether I can create an appropriate prosthesis. I would like to introduce a procedure called the 1/1 time protocol because we don't need to change the abutment once we connect it during the surgery. If I choose an abutment in an appropriate size, I can immediately identify and see that something is wrong. And sometimes I correct the position of the fixture if it is needed and can achieve better surgical and prosthetic results. Another advantage of doing this is that it saves a lot of chair time and simplifies the process in terms of workflow. Let's take a look at how convenient it is through an example. This is a case where immediate implant placement was performed to treat a fractured maxillary canine. As you can see in the picture, after obtaining good stability using the paper body implant, the stock abutment was connected. If the abutment is connected during surgery, it can be done more accurately without misfit because there is no interfering tissue around it. You can see that prosthetic component was connected precisely into fixture, so it was unnecessary to disconnect it in order to replace the custom abutment. I love this workflow pattern, especially for maxillary incisors or canine, because it flows very naturally. We can maximize aesthetic outcome because there was a minimal intervention and therefore a better healing process. If you compare the pre-op state to the 3-month post-op state, you can see that the facial soft tissue volume is very stable. This resulted from immediate provisionalization process because it provides support and prevents the tissue from collapsing. When you compare this with the conventional impression method, zero technology makes the process much easier because we just need to obtain and modify data at the change site. In particular, because the above level scan method was used, I think it was much simpler and more convenient than the scanbody method. At my clinic, single implant and 2-unit implant prostheses are mostly fabricated with stock abutment. As you can see in the picture, even the 6-unit bridge case can be treated using the abutment level scan method with stock abutment. In some bridge cases, we may make custom abutment, but we prioritize using stock abutment with some modifications. Of course, if we want to cover most cases using stock abutment, it's necessary to place the implant in an appropriate position. Actually, I really put a lot of time and effort into finding the right placement. It might seem like a hassle, but it's definitely worth taking the time to do because we can provide a better environment for implant longevity. So far, I have explained how we use the abutment level scan in our clinic. We hope that many of you will love this method. This wraps up today's webinar. Thank you for being here. Our next webinar to be held in February, where we will have a special session dedicated to questions on scanbodies. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.